Hello? Is anybody there? I called out. As soon as I saw it, a scream erupted from my mouth. Submitted by Abby. Hi, I'm Blair Bathory, and this is the Something Scary podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Whether this is your first time or you're one of the brave souls who join us every week. It's wedding season, the time for white dresses, vows, and dreams of a long, happy marriage. But beware, fairy tale weddings can hide deadly secrets. Behind the veil, not every story ends happy ever after. Some promises come with curses. Some I do's lead to murder. In this collection, love isn't always a blessing. It can be a curse, waiting to strike. First, The Ring chooses love, followed by Legacy of Terror. Finally, in our last story, Vows, Blood, and Betrayal. Before we get to our stories, the most important thing to do is hit that subscribe button if you are on YouTube, or hit the follow button on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast, so you don't miss a single episode. We'd also love you to leave a comment or rating. Whatever you feel moved to do would be super appreciated, and we love hearing from our fans, and we're so excited to have you listening. Thanks for being here.
So, want to hear something scary?
Happily Never After. Some heirlooms carry history, others carry hunger, like in this story, based on the cursed ring urban legend written by Sarah. The day Simone found the ring, she wasn't even looking for it. The attic of her grandmother's house smelled like thyme, dried lavender, old dust, and something faintly metallic. She'd been sorting boxes for hours, pushing past faded Christmas ornaments and long-dead Polaroids, when her fingers brushed velvet at the back of a drawer. A small black pouch, warm to the touch. Inside was a ring, antique gold, slim and elegant, set with a single deep garnet that looked black until the light hit it just right, and then it glowed like a drop of blood. It pulsed against her palm. "Don't," she whispered, even as she slid it on. It fit perfectly. She didn't tell Mark about it. The ring stayed on her hand like it belonged there. At first, she figured it was all a coincidence. She spilled coffee on her dress the morning of their engagement shoot. The florist backed out at the last minute, Mark snapping at her over nothing. It's just stress, she thought. Everyone gets nervous before a wedding. Then she heard the whispers, soft, like wind through an open window. Only there was no wind, and the windows were shut. Simone would lie in bed beside Mark, eyes wide in the dark, and hear them. Voices not quite speaking words, like conversations in another room. Familiar, wrong. She bought a white noise machine. She slept with earplugs, but the voices grew stronger. Sometimes they said her name, sometimes Mark's. Then she caught her reflection watching her. She started subtly, her mirror image lagging behind, blinking just a beat too late. One morning, she brushed her hair and paused. Her reflection did not. It stared at her. Lips curled in a smile she didn't feel. She stepped back, heart thudding. The reflection mouthed the word, "Mine." Simone decided she had to take off the ring that night, but it wouldn't budge. The skin around it had darkened. It was angry and red, like it had burrowed into her. Mark offered to cut it off, or take her to a jeweler to do it, but she snapped at him not to touch it. Then the dreams began. Simone walked through a burnt-out church, barefoot, wearing a wedding dress gone gray with ash. The aisle was littered with bones. A woman in white stood at the altar, her veil soaked red. She lifted it slowly. Her face was Simone's, but the eyes were hollow, and the mouth was sewn shut with gold wire. Simone woke screaming, the ring burning on her hand. She started researching. Eleanor Reith, her great-great-aunt, had owned the ring in 1892. She vanished the night before her wedding. Her fiancé was found in the woods, throat torn open, no sign of struggle. In 1952, Lisbeth Langford wore the ring at her engagement party. Her groom drowned in his bathtub, lungs filled with salt water. There was no salt water in the house. In 1987, the ring resurfaced. Another bride, another death. A pattern. Every bride who wore it lost her groom. Murder, disappearance, suicide. The ring passed in silence, handed down like fine china, cursed and unspoken. Simone found a letter tucked in an old Bible, written in frantic, spidery script. The ring binds the heart, first with love, then with blood. I should have let it burn with her. No signature, no explanation. Simone stopped sleeping, her eyes hollowed. Mark begged her to see someone. "You're not well," he said gently. "You don't believe me," she whispered. "You think I'm crazy." But he was just scared, while Simone thought she might be cursed. He reached for her. She flinched. The ring gleamed in the dim light, and for a second, his face twisted, not with fear, but with something like hatred. She blinked, and it was gone. On the night before the wedding, she saw the woman in the mirror again. Not a reflection. This time, it was a presence behind her. Pale dress, hair matted with dirt. The garnet glowed on the woman's hand like a living ember. "Do you love him?" the woman whispered, her voice both distant and inside Simone's head. Simone turned to run, but no one was there. Only the mirror that had cracked down the center. Mark disappeared on the morning of the wedding. His phone was on the nightstand. His suit hung untouched. His car keys sat in the bowl by the door. No note, no calls. But Simone knew. The ring had never wanted him. The police found nothing. No signs of a break-in, no struggle. Just muddy footprints leading away from the house. Barefoot, the same size as Simone's. She wore the dress anyway. Sat alone in the pews of the old church. It was raining outside, soft and relentless. She clutched the bouquet so tightly the stems snapped, and then she heard it. "Simone!" Not Mark, not quite. A voice that echoed his, but hollow, repeating something he'd once said, or maybe had only meant to say. "Do you love me?" She rose without thinking, moving toward the altar. The ring pulsed. In the cracked mirror beside the nave, she saw the woman again. Pale dress, hair clinging wet to her cheeks. The garnet on her hand burned like a living coal. Their eyes met, and Simone understood. It was never about him. It was about her. The ring didn't feed on love lost. It fed on love given freely, obsessively, sacrificially. Her fingers tightened around the bouquet. She whispered, "I do." They found her 2 weeks later, barefoot in the forest behind the church. Her dress was pristine, untouched by dirt or rain. Her hands were bloody. Her eyes were blank. The ring was gone. She wouldn't speak for days until a nurse found her carving names into the wall with her fingernails. Eleanor, Lisbeth, Simone. When asked where the ring went, she only smiled. "It needs love to survive," she said, voice soft with devotion. "And I loved him enough." 6 months later, a young woman in Ohio found a velvet pouch at an estate sale. She wore the ring to her bridal shower, laughing off the vendor's odd expression. "I'd never seen a garnet that color before," the woman said. "It's like it's alive." The cycle began again. Would you keep a gift that made you feel powerful, even if it scared you? Can love be real if it's demanded or threatened and not given? And by the way, don't forget to check out our merch store. We've got some scary summer items just in time to hit the beach, the campfire, or wherever you're headed. Go check them out at SomethingScary.com. So if you were following along on my social media the last couple of weeks, then you noticed that I was at the Cannes Film Festival. It was a crazy experience. I got to do it with my best friend, Gigi Salguero, who is a horror filmmaker in her own right, so check out her stuff too. and we got to work with Fangoria and Paramount Scares, and it was just such an honor. But I just wanted to let you know that the favorite horror movie that I saw while I was there is a film coming out, I think this week, called Dangerous Animals. It's a killer shark film from Australia by the same director that did The Loved Ones, and it is awesome. Y'all have to check it out and let me know in the comments if you do, or follow me on Letterboxd and let me see your ratings for this new killer shark movie. All right, sweet screams. Sometimes the scariest hauntings are the ones disguised as fairy tales. Inspired by Chloe, based on the Bell Tower Bride urban legend. Cassia Delacroix wasn't just beautiful, she was curated. The daughter of tech tycoon Christopher Delacroix, she was born into a world of private jets and diamond-studded obligations. Platinum blonde with glacier blue eyes, her face was a fixture on social media. Always perfectly lit, her smile always just the side of hollow. She lived in a glass mansion perched high above the city, a fortress of steel and silence. Inside, her father shaped her image like a sculptor carving marble. Deliberate, relentless, devoid of mercy. Christopher had no sons, but he didn't need one. He had Cassia, and she was his legacy. For years, he cultivated an alliance with Magnus Whitmore, a widowed venture capitalist nearly 4 decades older than Cassia. Magnus owned data farms in Iceland, mining just not cryptocurrency, but influence. He was old money cloaked in futurism, with a jaw like granite and a reputation that made regulators flinch. Cassia had never been asked what she wanted. Her body was branded with luxury, her decisions handled by publicists. Her engagement to Magnus was announced in Forbes before it was ever mentioned to her. But Cassia had a secret. Lucio was a part-time event staffer, a nobody in the Delacroix machine. 19, with a shy laugh and a habit of wiping his hands on his jeans before touching anything expensive. He worked catering gigs at the estate. She met him once by the infinity pool during a fundraiser. He brought her a drink with shaky hands and didn't look at her like she was a goddess, just human. He didn't follow her on social media. He didn't ask for a picture. He asked if she was tired. She was. Their affair bloomed like a bruise, secret, sore, and growing. Lucio met her in a pool house, behind blackout curtains and beneath security blind spots. He spoke of escape. She spoke of fear. "He's buying me," she whispered one night, curled beneath him like a folded letter, like I'm an investment portfolio with legs. "I'll get you out," Lucio had promised. "You don't owe him anything." Cassia knew better. Girls like her didn't run. They got renamed, repackaged, disappeared in luxury. The wedding was scheduled in the Whitmore Estate's private chapel, a reconditioned church high in the Berkshires. Exclusive guest list, NDA-bound staff, no press. Cassia wore couture white. Her father held her arm like a man escorting a doll down a runway. She walked stiffly, her vision narrowing as the stained glass windows blurred with tears she wouldn't let fall. Halfway down the aisle, Christopher leaned in and said softly, "You'll thank me for this." She looked up, following his gaze to the old bell tower. The window yawned open like a mouth mid-scream, and from it, something dangled, slack-limbed, swaying, casting a shadow that twitched when the wind didn't. Lucio. His head alone hung from the iron crossbeam. His curls were matted, his mouth agape in a silent scream, his skin gray with death. She didn't scream, only gasped like something had reached inside her and squeezed. Her knees buckled as if gravity had turned cruel. Somewhere, a candle flickered out without wind. She collapsed mid-aisle in a heap of silk and sequins. Her father caught her and smiled tightly for the guests. The ceremony continued. Magnus barely blinked. The guests whispered, but no one left. Later, during the reception, Cassia was gone. There was a crash, glass high above, and then silence. Gasps rippled through the guests, as all eyes turned toward the bell tower. The stained glass window had exploded outward. Shards rained down like jagged confetti. The old frame groaned. Cassia stood there, silhouetted by the moon, her veil fluttering like it was underwater. Her dress was torn, soaked in something darker than wine. Her face was blank, but her eyes glowed faintly, catching the moonlight in a way no living eyes should. Then she vanished. No one saw her fall. No one heard her scream. But outside, beneath the bell tower, the ornamental fence had split open. Blood pooled at the base. Her body was found moments later, impaled cleanly through the chest on one of the iron spikes. Her spine had snapped on impact, her neck twisted. There were no witnesses, no cameras, no answers. Christopher didn't scream. He roared, guttural, animal, like something old and dying. The Alliance collapsed that night. Magnus raged about reputational damage. Christopher roared about betrayal. The next morning, housekeepers found bloody footprints in the hall, small, bare, walking away from the chapel stairs, then stopping at a wall. No return prints, as if whoever left them never turned back. Cassia's suite was cold. Her mirror was fogged over despite no heat. When it cleared, a handprint remained on the glass, delicate, feminine, pressed like someone had been watching. That night, Christopher stared into the mirror above the fireplace. The light flickered once, then again. Then he saw her. Cassia stood behind him. Her neck was bent wrong. Blood dripped down her chest. She cradled Lucia's severed head like a child might be a favorite toy. Her smile was small, too calm. "I just wanted to make you proud," he rasped, frozen in place. Her reflection didn't move, but the room grew colder. Her voice didn't come from her mouth. It whispered from the walls. "I hate you." The lights went out. When they found him the next morning, he was sprawled in front of the mirror. His head had been severed cleanly, deliberately, and placed in his lap like a grotesque crown. Across the mirror, written in blood, were the words, "You may now kiss the bride." The investigation stalled. Security footage was corrupted. Staff resigned en masse. Witnesses left the country. Magnus sold his American assets and vanished to Switzerland. But the bell in the tower still tolls, just once. Dry, metallic, angry. The rope's been cut for years. It still swings. They've tried to seal the tower. It always opens. Some nights the window glows faintly, though the chapel is empty. Locals say if the fog is thick and the wind cruel, you might see her. Cassia in her ruined gown, a veiled shape hovering above the window, her eyes glowing like coals. Sometimes she's alone, swaying as if caught in a breeze from the other side. Sometimes Lucio's head is beside her, tilted wrong, eyes hollow but watching. And sometimes the window is just open, waiting. Would you marry someone to escape your life? And if you were betrayed by the people meant to protect you, would you come back? Let us know in the comments. I've been loving reading the letters from y'all, and we appreciate you sending them in. Keep them coming. I have something today that I wanted to read from Kainat. Hi, Something Scary. This mail refers to the episode Haunted Hotels. I am basically writing this mail because I faced a similar situation when my aunt's wedding was held there. During my time, I experienced 3 different such situations. A little backstory, I was raised in a family where we didn't strictly follow everything that was written in the holy books. It has been 20 years since those incidents, but even thinking about those incidents, I can still feel chills running down my spine. The first incident took place the second night, when all of my cousins' parents, including mine, decided that we could stay in a different room rather than with our parents because we met after a very long time. There weren't many of us, so they booked only one room for us, but one of our oldest cousins was staying with us. All of us were playing and catching up with each other when our parents came to call us to have dinner. That was when I noticed something strange from the corner of my eye. I saw a patch of blood on the wall, but as soon as I turned my head to see, I saw nothing. The next day, our parents let us play outside as the weather seemed too good, and they went on to do some urgent stuff. All of us were playing hide and seek when both myself and my cousin Winter, who is as old as me, saw a girl standing near the main entrance. We felt weird. We told Linda, the oldest cousin of ours, about what had happened, and she said that both of us were just imagining things. But as soon as I told her about me seeing the patch of blood, Linda said I was hallucinating. That night, I didn't sleep, and then I heard a voice saying, "Beware the forthcoming deaths and danger." I saw a lady dressed in white, and she was sitting by the side of the bed as she caressed my cheek and smiled at me. For a moment, I couldn't believe what I saw, and in the blink of an eye, that lady disappeared. For the next 2 days, I didn't see anything strange, and nor did my cousins. On the day of the wedding, I was the third bridesmaid, as I was the third oldest daughter of the family. That day, after I got dressed for the ceremony, I went to my aunt's room where she was getting dressed. She said I was looking very beautiful, and she asked me to keep a check on Linda, as she was the oldest of all and was a bridesmaid too. As soon as I ran across the hallway to see Linda, I tripped, but luckily didn't hurt myself. I saw a hand. The hand was of the girl who me and Winter saw at the main entrance. I said thank you, as I was also a bit shocked. She said, "You are welcome, miss. I hope your aunt's wedding goes well." And then she ran down the stairs and disappeared into the air. I just didn't get surprised by whatever happened at that moment, and it felt like it was very unusual. But I was still very confused about how she knew that my aunt was getting married. 2 months later, my paternal grandma fell down and injured her leg. Because the injury was too serious, she passed away. That was when I remembered what the lady said when I was in the hotel. And since then, I had been forewarned about any death or accidents that are going to take place in due course of time. That is all I would like to wrap up here for today. Thank you. I hope you will share it in your podcast. And if this mail is late, I am extremely sorry because I am a new listener. Thank you so much. Kainat. We always are accepting new stories, and we love hearing from you. If you have a story you want to share, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. And if you have a 2-sentence horror story you'd like to submit as well, leave it in the comments or also email it to me as well. Sometimes the past crashes every celebration, and it's not a welcome guest, like in this story inspired by Anonymous. We were 9 the summer my aunt married a stranger. That's what my friend Zia called him, a stranger. Because he was tall, smelled like bleach, and laughed too hard at his own jokes. It was my aunt's second marriage, and she wanted it to be perfect. The venue? Our family's old pool house, long abandoned since Zia's dad died. Zia and I were practically sisters. Her parents and mine had been inseparable. And when her father drowned in the pool 5 years earlier, our families cracked but didn't shatter. We promised to stay close. She said it over and over. The moon couldn't separate us, Hallie. I never understood it, but she whispered it like a vow, one that felt older than us, passed down through something darker than memory. We planned a kid-friendly pre-wedding bash the night before the rehearsal. We didn't know how to throw a party, so we begged Zim, Zia's 17-year-old brother, for help. He barely spoke, always looking half there, with shadows under his eyes that never seemed to fade. That night, he agreed without looking up from his phone. Their mother found the old key to the pool house and handed it over with shaky hands. "Be careful," she muttered. "It's not a place for celebration anymore." Her voice caught on the word celebration, like it burned to say it. We set up around 10 p.m., hanging string lights that flickered unevenly and blowing up floaties that squeaked like something protesting. The air was thick, muggy, and smelled like wet stone and chemicals. By 11, the place buzzed with laughter and music, but something about the pool was weird. Too still, too black. It looked bottomless. Guests came and went, and by 2 a.m., everyone was gone but us. I told Zia I was tired. Her eyes glistened under the moonlight. "The moon can't separate us," she said again. Her voice had an edge that gave me goosebumps. I smiled anyway, thinking it was sweet, trying not to show how unsettled I felt. At 4:03 a.m., I awoke with a start. The house was too quiet. The fan in the corner had stopped spinning. Zia wasn't in her sleeping bag. I crept outside. The pool shimmered, still, and black. At first, I thought she was floating, just floating. But then I saw the blood. It ran in the red threads from her body into the water, a slow dissolve, like ink. Her body lay half submerged, chest split open, ribs cracked like broken wings. Her mouth hung open like she had died mid-scream. On the wall behind her, written in blood, were the words, "You broke the promise, Haley." They said it was a break-in, a tragedy, a sick coincidence. But they never found who did it, and I knew I had left her alone. I broke the promise. 14 years later, I returned for another wedding. Aunt Mariko, again, husband number 3. She'd sold the pool house but rented it back just for the occasion. She wanted nostalgia. I wanted closure. I hadn't returned to Tokyo since Zia died. The streets felt too clean, the air too quiet. Even the crows avoided that house. The place hadn't changed. The tiles still held ghostly stains, and the air smelled faintly of chlorine and mold. I walked through the house alone, early in the morning before anyone else arrived. I passed Zia's old room. The door was cracked open. Inside, the wallpaper peeled in long strips, and the dust had gathered thick in the corners. I found a bouquet resting in the kitchen counter. At first, I thought it was for the wedding, until I saw the note tucked between the lilies. "Till death do us part. Don't leave me again." My fingers went numb. The flowers were damp, dripping, and not water. They smelled metallic, like old coins and rot. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every creak in the old house sounded like footsteps. The mirrors fogged, over without reason. At 4:03 a.m., I heard it, a soft splash, followed by what sounded like laughter, a child's giggle, warbled and wrong. Drawn to the pool, I walked barefoot down the stone steps. The moon hung low, swollen. Zia stood at the edge, a wedding dress clinging to her soaked frame, veil trailing behind her like seaweed. Her skin had that waterlogged look, pale, bloated. Her eyes were empty, her mouth opened, but no words came, only a wet, guttural gasp. Her hand reached toward me, water trailing down her fingers like strings. I turned and ran. I didn't stop until I locked myself in the upstairs guest room, heart thundering. The next day was the wedding. Mariko looked radiant but tired. During the vows, her voice trembled. When she tossed the bouquet, she missed. It landed by the pool. She went to retrieve it herself. She screamed. We ran to her. She was on the ground, gasping, holding her chest. Bruises spread like ink across her ribcage. "Not now," she whispered. "Not again." They rushed her to the hospital. No one understood what had happened. I did. Because in that moment, I saw the water ripple, just once. 6 months later, I got engaged. He was kind, stable, normal. He proposed in a quiet restaurant, a ring hidden in creme brulee. I hesitated. I remembered white dresses soaked in blood. I said yes anyway. That night, I woke at 4:03 a.m. There were lilies on the nightstand, wet, and scrawled in red across my bathroom mirror. "You said forever." My stomach twisted. My fiancé was still asleep beside me, undisturbed. I crept to the living room. Something in the shadows shifted. I could feel her. Zia. I whispered into the darkness, "I'm sorry." Silence. Then a voice, soft, familiar, and wrong. "You promised, but it wasn't me who drowned." "What?" I froze, but there was no follow-up, no answer. Just the sound of dripping, drip, drip, drip coming from the hallway. I followed it, heart pounding, to the linen closet. I opened the door. Inside, a single floaty, deflated, a string of wedding lights, blood-splattered tiles, a girl's dress, not Zia's, mine, from the night she died, and a photo I didn't remember taking, me, smiling at the edge of the pool, as Zia bled out behind me. I dropped it, my knees buckled, the memory slammed into me like a wave. That night, we fought. I wanted to sleep. She wanted to swim. She pulled me toward the water, joking, pleading. I pushed her, harder than I meant to. She hit her head, slipped, bled. I ran. I lied. And someone or something helped me forget. In the mirror across the hallway, my reflection smiled, but I wasn't smiling. Behind me, a voice whispered again, gurgling through water.
You said forever.
I turned around. The mirror was empty, and the floor was wet. Do you think some promises ever really stayed buried? Even on the best days, can there be something ugly hiding? As always, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed these 3 new stories and a little bit of fan mail. We love hearing from you, so please keep sending those in. And also, the 2-sentence horror stories are great. We love reading these on the podcast. I'll see you next time. Sweet screams.
This week's podcast stories were edited by Sarah Lukasiewicz, narration by Blair Bathory, audio edited and mixed by Fitz Harris, additional audio editing by Calvin Linderman, produced by Anna Villalavos, executive produced by Gail Gilman, music by Sapphire Sandalo and Calvin Linderman. If you have a story you'd like to submit, send me an email at somethingscary@snarled.com. Don't forget to watch the video version of Something Scary over at youtube.com/snarled. And if you'd like to support the show and everything we do at Snarled, join our Patreon at patreon.com/snarled.